Well, hello and welcome, students of critical reasoning at Philosophy 120, Cal State University, Dominguez Hills. This little video is good for the fall 2021 semester. I hope you have all had a wonderful summer. And of course, I realize that many of us were affected by what has been happening in our country and in the world at large. But ultimately, I hope you've had a relatively refreshing summer and are looking forward to, as I am, our fall semester together. This particular course is described as an alternative delivery course, and there is no one format for such courses, but the one that I have chosen is essentially one that requires that students show up on Tuesday at 2:30. And that's the only day of the week that we will meet on Zoom together. And of course, that is also the means by which I will take attendance and try to evaluate your participation in the course. In what follows, I hope to give you just a brief overview of what the navigation looks like in our Blackboard course. And that might possibly help you, and I'm sure it will, be a very good student. And I hope that you will find that this will be a rewarding experience. I always find that I learn a lot from my students, who often come up with really creative arguments and opinions, and I welcome them all. This is a navigation pane that you see off to the left here, and it is from this area of Blackboard that you can access the content of the course. We happen to be right now at the announcements section. I place announcements up in the course a couple of times a week. Some of them are reminders about work. Some of them are suggestions for how to complete assignments. And often it is the case I put certain materials up, like articles on the internet, that seem directly relevant to our course of study. Critical thinking is the kind of subject that can be used across many different disciplines, including not only philosophy, but also history, political science, biology, as in bioethics. And I think that you'll find that it will give you some useful tools for being able to identify the belief systems of other individuals, understand what their perspectives are, and will certainly, and it has done this in my case, enlighten oneself about one's own prejudices and biases. The home section, basically, if you click on that, will no doubt, as the semester proceeds, reveal information that pertains to the university at large. First thing to do is to acquire that textbook. It is available in the Cal State University Dominguez Hills bookstore. It is a 5th edition. Please strive to acquire that particular text. Last I looked, if you go to the actual McGraw-Hill Higher Education website, you're giving a couple of alternatives by means of which you can access the course. One of them should be an e-text, and I think there's even a book rental, either of which might save you a little bit of money in the long run. Just make sure it's the 5th edition. Now, I am often asked if other older editions will work. There are some differences between the 5th and the 4th edition that I've noticed, but nothing major. So if it push comes to shove, and you can not locate a 5th edition, probably a 4th will work, but I would not get anything earlier than that. Take a look at the syllabus when you have a chance to log in. It is in a PDF file format. And I've gone ahead and included a link to the academic calendar, which, if you want to use that, will give an idea of what the scheduled holidays are and what the final times in general are for the administration of the exams at the end of the semester. This course schedule also appears in that syllabus, but I placed it up here, I hope, for your inconvenience. And let me point out that occasionally, I must admit, I do make mistakes, and one of them sometimes has to do with configuring due dates. But if you do discover that there's some kind of a discrepancy in due dates or incongruity, I will promptly repair it. Just let me know. So please do not get too frustrated if that happens to be the case, but I'm reasonably sure that we're in pretty good shape to get the semester up and running. A good deal of your work will take place in the discussion area. There are rubrics for discussion responses and how you react and respond to your fellow students located in the syllabus. But in general, what I'd like you to do is be respectful to other individuals when you're answering a particular discussion forum prompt. Try to write a substantial response to the prompt based upon your studies, your reasoning, your opinions, and respond to at least 2 other students. And when you do that, you want to be respectful, collegial. Treat it as if this were a face-to-face brick-and-mortar class and that you are attempting to help somebody understand a problem, or they're attempting to help you understand a problem, or maybe further elucidate something that we are discussing, some topic or concept. All of the discussion threads are due Mondays throughout the semester, as is the other homework. But the one difference is the very first introduce yourself assignment. By completing this, it allows me to be able to establish that you're going to be continuing in the course. And it's a fun thing. So you're going to get pretty easy points in terms of stating your goals, a little bit about yourself, what you care to share. And again, that's going to be due the first Friday of the first week of our course. So take a look at that and try to comment on other people's postings. The Zoom weekly session. Zoom has become so ever-present that probably it goes without saying that it is a good application or platform for us to engage in synchronous communication and contact with each other. I hope that the meetings have been scheduled already in an orderly way. So the first one would be the second day of our semester together. Now, I open it up about a half an hour before our class, so if people want to get in, they can do so. When you decide to join the class and I bring it up at the appropriate time, you may get a prompt to download a kernel or a cookie of information from Zoom. Go ahead and do that. It is completely secure. If you've used Zoom before, you're probably better than I am at using it. I use it not only for classes periodically, but also for communication with friends and other individuals. But I think you'll find, if you haven't had too much exposure to it, that it is pretty straightforward, fairly intuitive. And of course, the purpose of the Zoom session is basically to do online what we would typically do if we were meeting face to face. And that is have a discussion. And generally what I do is narrate a PowerPoint that is associated with the particular chapter that we'd be studying that week. And then, by the time our Zoom session begins to end, as in a typical classroom, I will ask for questions. And of course, it's very easy for me to take attendance because all the participants are visible in the panel on Zoom that allows an instructor to determine who is there. But you probably know all of that, so I won't dwell upon it. You will be able to ultimately access your grades once I've published the course, which will be happening about a day before it actually begins. And one thing I want you to take a look at and bear in mind as the semester progresses is how to write a philosophy paper. This course actually sets you up for being able to analyze and evaluate arguments. And that's what we do in philosophy, and certainly that's what critical thinking is largely about. In addition to clarifying your own thoughts and trying to define concepts in a more lucid way, critical thinking helps you to analyze and evaluate the arguments of other folks and also those of your own. The reason I'm bringing it up now is because it's easy to forget that this is due toward the end of the semester. And I'd like you to start thinking about it a little bit informally. I've given some suggestions here as to some paper topics you might want to start thinking about, but there's things in a book too. I think you'll find a book rather interesting. There are themes and topics that your author describes. One of them might interest you, and you might want to develop a paper. The paper should be approximately 5 pages, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It's something to shoot for. If you meet the criteria of an argument, as laid out in the rubrics, like the paper writing rubrics and some of my videos describing what an argument is like, you'll be just fine. MLA or APA format, I have no requirement on footnotes. You could do an entire paper from the top of your head that, as long as it fits in with the prescribed rubrics for writing a clear and concise argument essay, you should be in pretty good shape. So anyway, take a look at that when you have an opportunity. These things should help you in developing an argument. But again, that's not something you're going to have to worry about real soon. The way in which you access the materials is in terms of weekly modules, and they all pretty much look alike. Once you master the first module, the course flows for the rest of the semester in the same direction. So you will see presentations that I have done and also presentations from other people. The PowerPoints, the weekly PowerPoints that we'll be using already appear up in the course. So before we have our weekly meeting, you may want to take a look at the PowerPoints because they will become the centerpiece of our discussions. As I proceed with these PowerPoints, we'll try to further define some of the topics and some of the issues that are brought up. And certainly I'll invite you to ask questions that have to do with the critical thinking themes and some of the basic philosophical themes that are extremely important, quite frankly, to an understanding of how we think, how we organize our thoughts. As you scroll down within each weekly folder, you'll find a quiz and a written assignment. And the only thing I have to tell you about the written assignment is do your best to develop a paragraph addressing specifically the prompt. The first one is relatively easy, I hope. What are the 3 levels of thinking? And I'm there after your opinion, and it's not something that I grade strictly in terms of grammar or spelling, but I think it's often a good idea to, when you have the opportunity, use spell check. And I also should mention that you can upload a document file when you're responding to written assignments, or you can type your answer directly into the space provided. I would just be careful a little bit that while you're doing that, your computer doesn't crash or your internet doesn't give out, because it can be very frustrating if that should happen right in the middle of an assignment. So basically, once you've mastered the first navigational scheme of our weekly module, the course proceeds almost exactly that way. So how do you prepare for our lecture moments on Tuesdays? And when we're going to be able to get together and have a synchronous session, read the chapter, write out some questions. I'll do my best to answer them if you have any questions. But again, you'll only be meeting with me once a week at 2:30. And you do get points, of course, for that. And check out the syllabus and see how much points you get. Between the online synchronous Zoom session and the discussion board, I believe overall it's worth a little over 20% of your ultimate grade. As always, if you have any questions about anything or you see any inconsistencies in terms of due dates or anything going on in the course that doesn't make sense, please feel free to email me. My turnaround time is generally about 2 hours. I tend to keep a couple of computers up and running, and mainly because I'm kind of a computer geek myself. And I do try to be timely in my responses, but you'll certainly get a response from me within 24 hours. Unless perhaps we have a holiday coming up here, extended holiday, like Thanksgiving. But I'm available on the weekends too. Just email me and and I'll probably respond even on Sunday. But again, during what we call normal business hours, which an online course really isn't, I hope you get a turnaround time that you can live with from me in terms of my responses to you. So we'll be tackling our first week the subjects of getting to know each other a little bit, and also understanding what critical thinking is. When you go to the announcement section, I will be putting up little tidbits of information about what critical thinking is, just to help you. And you'll see those begin to pop up as the course emerges. Don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions. If you're looking at this video, then it means that you've already had access to the course, so that's good work. Most of my students, I think, find that there are very good practical bits and pieces of information and tools of thought that can help you in almost anything you do. So anyway, we will be seeing each other this coming Tuesday. And if you have any problems with accessing Zoom, you should be able to contact the CSUDH Technical Support Portal page and email me if there's a problem and for some reason you just can't get on. In a wonderful world of online teaching and learning and communication, we know things are not quite perfect. I do occasionally suffer some internet outages in my location. It can be very frustrating, but at the same time, we expect that there might be some issues. So if you have problems, once again, don't hesitate to try to contact me one way or the other. Email is the preference. So I'll see you Tuesday. Click in on Zoom, and we will have our first session together. Looking forward to a great semester with you. Bye for now.